can you put more mutton? And she was like, no. नहीं टेंशन ना लो, I'll pay for that. And she, as a matter of fact, she said, अरे उसकी बात नहीं है सर, आपके जैसे और भी भूखे लोग आएंगे ना, उनको भी खिलाना है. It was such a moment where you're not buying out of life, you're buying your way out through it.
All right, so Abhay, how long rides have you done on your bikes? Like, what's the maximum you have stretched yourself to?
Oh, cool. So the longest kilometer-wise would be Ludhiana, Manali, Ladakh, Srinagar, back to Ludhiana. That I did on my dad's old bullet.
Oh.
The gear is on the opposite side, that old one. So that was the one. It's around 3.2k kilometers.
Okay. And what do you find like a easy ride? Like, you recently went to Kerala. Like, people don't even think, like, for a lot of people going to Yercaud is a very long ride. Like, what's a usual comfortable ride for you? How many kilometers do you?
I think I don't go by the kilometer. So there are multiple factors that comes to it. One is, it's more about the time that you spend on the bike. And when you spend the time on the bike, if there are a lot of vibrations and all of it, then it may kind of wear you down. So I think in an Africa twin, I can easily go like 2.5, 3 hours without a break, just riding.
Okay.
And depending upon the speed, sometimes I remember doing around like 200 odd kilometers without a break.
Oh, nice.
Just went. I mean, time just flew. You're just riding. It was nice. So yeah, but whereas in a Himalayan, I remember doing around like 150, 160 without a break.
Okay.
Yeah, but that again, that bike was after 100, you get to feel the vibrations. So yeah.
Nice. All right. So Abhay, tell us about the most memorable sojourn from your biking life so far.
Sure. I mean, it again depends upon the perspective, right? If I try to isolate that as one of those bad experiences, just again my thought about it is that's something that you will always be, that will be there in the back of your mind, and that somewhere plays when you ride. So one of those experiences that I had, but it was one of the most fulfilling one as well, how it turned out to be, was while I was riding in Ladakh. I was riding with a friend of mine, and he had a pillion, and we covered Ladakh. We were in Kargil, and we had to go towards Srinagar the next day. And they had a flight the next day afternoon, and we had to reach Srinagar the evening before. So we were riding. By then we had done the treacherous path. Now you have tarmac. Tarmac feels like a luxury. So the next day afternoon, and we had to reach Srinagar the evening before. So we were riding. By then we had done the treacherous path. Now you have tarmac. Tarmac feels like a luxury. So Kargil to Drass, one of the rules was, if you are stopping, because there's no network, there's no way that you can connect with the other person, park it on the side of the road. Make it obvious that there's a bike parked there, and I know you will stop in either of maybe an eatery or restaurant of sorts, maybe some memorial or some beautiful site, but always keep it visible next to the road. I think kind of forgot. Man parked it a little inside. I went ahead, crossed Drass, went ahead. It was a beautiful place. It looked like paradise on earth. And waited for an hour. He didn't show up because I was ahead. Then I went back in Drass. I couldn't spot his bike. Went to Kargil War Memorial, couldn't find it again. And I asked for people for telephone. They said no telephones are working in Drass that day. So then my worry was if he had fallen down somewhere, etc., etc. So went to Kargil where we stayed. By then he had moved on. He thought that I had moved on. Then he tried catching up. Then we moved on, and luckily he crossed over to a place where there was signal available, and when I called, I could listen to his voice, and that for me was relieving. After that, I was so happy that he's alive because I was looking at all the canyons if there is a bike fallen down there. I mean, I was prepared for the worst. Or looking for marks on the road if there is a skid that may have happened, etc. Asked people, did you see something? Did you see some so and so bike, etc. But it's in the wilderness, right? No one around. Then I was happy. Kargil says, and I thought I will ride as much as I can. And none of these places we ever booked a place. And we were on the way towards Drass. 13 kilometers down, my battery blew off, and there was no one around. I came down a mountain. There is a mountain up. Battery blew off while coming down the mountain. Kept going in neutral wherever it could go. Then I was there at around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock afternoon on the railing. Thought like this is gone. There are no vehicles coming around. Couple of trucks passed by the most. Then around 5 o'clock I could see a couple of these laborers who were working on the road coming down. They asked, "Kya hua?" etc. etc. I told them, "This is what happened." There were 13 of them. I remember that. They said, "Push kar lenge." Then I also got down and pushed. I was like, "Nee, aap isme baitho." And I was feeling awkward about it. Like, how can I just sit on the bike and while others are pushing? Like, aap baitho. 13 of them pushed it up the mountain. It's 3 kilometers out push. And the altitude gain there is insane. And there was this truck guy who came by. He asked, "Kya hua?" My vehicle was a Kerala registered one. So he asked, "Kya hua?" etc. That young chap who was the assistant to the truck driver, he's like, usko bola ki aap chale jao, I'll help him out. He jumped off. Then 14 people now are pushing the bike, reached the sea. Then the first thing that he did is, "Chalo, you must be tired. Aapko juice pilata hu." Went to the shop. The shop was able to 2 juice pilana. एक मेरे लिए, ये कौन है? ये तो हमारा मेहमान है. Then he said, "अच्छा मेहमान हो, कहाँ से आए हो?" And told him like, Kerala से आया हूँ, etc. etc. And he said, "तो आप दोनों को जूस मेरी तरफ से." He didn't charge. So this guy wanted to get it for me. Then I asked him, like, "Where do I keep my bike which is safe?" He's like, "Right opposite there's an army unit. वहीं पे रख लो. That's the most safest spot." Then went to the army unit, spoke to someone. He said, हाँ रख लो, कोई बात नहीं. Then this guy got me a Tata Sumo. So it's a village in the mountain, not much of civilization there. Tata Sumo came. He said, "ये मेरा भाई है, ज़्यादा चार्ज मत करना. कितना चार्ज करते हो वहाँ के लिए लोकल्स को वही चार्ज करना. लेकिन आप छोड़ दो. ये मेरे ऊपर छोड़ दो. Let me go." Then the sumo guy took me around, and I could see like there are. Then he showed me between 2 mountains where the river is coming in. लेकिन वो जो दिख रहा है ना पहाड़, वो पाकिस्तान है. And the shelling marks I could see on the boulders over there. And that's when it hits you. And I was wondering while I was coming down, इतना बड़ा ये दीवार क्यों खड़ा कर दिया है? I mean, it's taking away the beauty. It's 2-3 stories high. Because they used to shell in the night, and that was the visible path. Shelling used to happen to the vehicles, and his first cousin died because of the shelling. And he spoke to me as if it's a matter of fact. It kind of like hit me.
Yeah.
You are there.
It's like,
yeah, it is insane, man. I mean, all of a sudden, this is not news to you anymore. You are part of someone's life, and there is someone who got impacted by this. When there was only one guy who could repair a bike in Kargil, and so battery फटा हुआ था, battery मिल नहीं रहा, UPS वाला battery लेके आया, and साथ में रस्सी. This guy came in, fixed it, and he convinced, this guy went there and convinced him to shut the shop. Got along, we were singing all the way. पूरे किशोर कुमार and Mohammed Rafi के songs and all that. We were singing all the way, came here, fixed the bike. Then after that we went back, dropped him back. Then by the time I came back, it was around like 6 o'clock. Then he dropped me at 2-3 kilometers before, and he said, "नहीं यार वहाँ पे unit में आ रहे." "नहीं sir, you have to meet couple of people. People are waiting to see you." The hospitality that I faced, I mean that I received there were 3 people who invited me home to stay. They said, "Sir, mutton biryani बन रहा है आपके लिए, आप यहीं पे रुक जाओ." Then he showed me like, कहाँ पे घर? उधर है. हमने बोला, "नहीं भाई, ये आप तो मतलब 10 मिनट में, मैं तो 1 घंटा लगेगा ऊपर जाने में. I'll be dead." And not because of that, plus I had to keep on moving forward. Then I had like 7 teas in half an hour period. There were a crowd around in that Pathan suit and typical Kashmiri kaftan and all that, right? And having conversations with them, asking them questions, etc., trying to understand more about them, etc. Then there was a huge crowd waving when we were off, as if I did some heroic act over there. They helped me. So that's where the whole idea of heroism just changes. They were the heroes, I wasn't. And they gave me a heroic reception and they gave me a heroic send-off as well. And I'm with question marks in my head. Everything that I knew about how I see life kind of started changing then. Then I went to the army unit and I could see a lot of people standing outside. By then it was like around 7:15, 7:30 types. With spoon and a steel plate. I think the major or someone whomever heads that unit, he received me. As if again, another hero is coming. This hero has got nothing but a bike and a battery which blew off, which the heroes of the village actually fixed it. So I am confused. And I went there, there's like, आप बैठो, खाना सर्व कर देंगे आपके लिए. And I was like, हाँ, खाना खा लेते. Funniest part, their dinner time was 7. They were waiting for me till 7:30. They served me food, then everyone ate. Then after that, they were insisting, why don't you stay back? And he's like, there is a VIP kind of a tent available there. You occupy that. I was saying, no, I have to keep going. He asked me why. And I remember my friends are there. I need to be there for the friends. He's like, ja bhai. Jo bhi dikkat ho, this is the number. Give my reference if there is anything. Any trouble whatsoever that you may face, you can ask them to ring me up. I will sort you out. Then they loaded me with Tropicana juice and all of that. Then at 9 o'clock I head off from there to Drass. And that was one of those experiences still etched in my memory. Amazing.
And tell us about the most dreadful experience in your biking journey so far that still gives you shivers. I'm sure like every biker goes through these experiences because roads are very unforgiving.
Yep. So yeah, so one of those scary moments was this was in Spiti. Me and a friend was riding. We both of us were riding, and last leg, one of the last legs, and there's a beautiful lake, Chandratal Lake, and the path towards it, to some way it's like some ways it's done, some ways it's more about some heavy vehicle has gone on top of it and kind of like pressed all the boulders, and that's what the path is, and everyone just follows. And there was a water crossing. I crossed that, and I was going ahead. And what happens is when you have a wet tire and a smooth boulder, it's a recipe for disaster. So I, till date, don't know what happened, but I know how I ended up. On the left side, there are no barricades or whatsoever. Like you fall down, and it goes hundreds, if not thousands of feet, straight fall. And I slipped. The front tire lost the footing, and I landed off on the boulder side, flew off the bike. The bike, when I look back, the bike front tire is outside. It's hanging on the cliff. It's outside the cliff. We had to pull it back, and I was maybe a meter away. If I had flown off, I have gone down there. So, to be very honest, I wasn't scared. I was numb. And when my friend Srijit, he came down, when he saw me there, he had that look on his face which kind of gave me the gravity of the situation. But yeah, it was scary, but yeah, part and parcel, man. Yeah.
So Abhay, tell us one of the most heartwarming experiences that you saw in your biking.
On the first Ladakh trip, we were on the way and we had faced some hardship, like my friend's bike clutch wire kind of like broke off, and some strangers came together, fixed it, and we were moving on. It was afternoon, and there was one dhaba run by Ladakhis, I guess, and they had an amazing tukpal. It was mutton tukpa, I remember, yummy, and there was a little bit of mutton. Like, can you put more mutton? And she was like, no. Any tension at all? I'll pay for that. And she, as a matter of fact, she said, अरे उसकी बात नहीं है सर, आपके जैसे और भी भूखे लोग आएंगे ना, उनको भी खिलाना है. It was such a moment where you're not buying out of life, buying your way out through it. It was such a grounding moment for me to realize that it's not just your comfort and you're not moving ahead with, you're consuming all what is there and then moving on. I remember like having that tukpa in silence. A beautiful river was there. So just looked at it and just had my tukpa in silence. It was such a grounding moment. Wow.
So, well, like a very famous phrase in India, people say, if you own things like these, people ask you, Safed Hathi, white elephant that you are taking care of. There are a lot of us who want to jump to the other side of the road and get to experience possessions like these. What would be your advice to people who are just starting their biking journey and they want to own one of these? How do you plan to own one of these? At what point, what kind of savings you should have to make a switch over? Like, what's the right point, I guess, is the question. Okay. And it might not be the same answer that would apply to everybody, but tell us your perspective on this.
Sure. So there were two aspects for me. One was, there was always a dream of riding, and it wasn't about riding as such. It was about being in a certain space and having that ability to do those things and be at certain spaces where, where you could be. And if I could do it through a ride, that was amazingly beautiful for me, rather than just flying and being there. So I wanted a machine which could travel continents. That's where I got into, like, the touring was my thing. Even though I love speed, so hence did not go for a sports tourer, but went for an adventure tourer. And so having that visualization in my head of what I want to do and how I want to feel and how do I see myself getting there, that made a better bike an obvious choice for me. And second, something that can push my riding capabilities. The second aspect is, and that again, something that's personal to someone, right? Everyone has to find their own path, as long as you're following your dreams and following your passion. The second part is the second enabler rather would be like the financial aspects of it, right? So what I say is, when you feel that your basic necessities are taken care of, take a stock check of the responsibilities that you have. And if I can use the word obligations, right? Sometimes you have to do certain things. So I had a checklist of a couple of things, like if you are jobless, if you can survive for an X amount of period. Second, what are the other recurring costs for you? So I was in a debt-free scenario, तो उसमें ज़्यादा adventure नहीं था, तो मैंने सोचा थोड़ा loan लेते हैं. So, on a serious note, I liked the machine and I was able to afford it. The reason being, when you are at a certain salary wherein you look at, there are two ways of buying it. One is outright. Second is you have a certain amount of savings. Third is you break an asset which you have, sell it off in your fund. Again, I call it all outright. Right? Second is third aspect is getting into a debt kind of a scenario. And in a debt, am I comfortable taking a debt? The market scenario wasn't that great, in which I was getting better out of whatever investments that I had. And debt was something that I was comfortable with. I could pay off, and plus I could still fund my next set of dreams. There were certain other responsibilities that I have, like if my parents are aging, how have I covered them, etc. So all of those things were taken care of. Then I could pump money to fuel my dream. So I cannot put a number to it. Because the responsibilities, the financial obligations, etc., is all based on your choices and based on the responsibilities that you have. And if you think that you can, and with, let's say, funding it outright or taking a loan and still be comfortable, go for it.
Awesome. And these things do have the capability to throw unpleasant surprises in terms of something going wrong massively. How do you prepare yourself for that? I mean, touch wood, it should never happen, God forbid. But that surprise element these machines can always throw at us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great point. Yeah. So one thing that I checked while buying the machine was I didn't want to spend my life in a service center. So while I loved Africa Twin, and I was thinking of Triumph at that point of time, I was thinking of one metric a friend told me was check out true cost of ownership, TCOS. Not many people look at it, and there are good enough blogs people have written, and nothing better to hear from a user. And Africa Twin was by miles no comparison.
Oh, so the reliability of
The reliability of the machine, people keep talking about it's a Japanese machine, it's beautiful, blah blah blah. But sometimes you have to differentiate the poet out of the logical mind, and you have to fact check. And fact check wise, also this came out to be true. So went for it. So yes, the risk factor is limited. The machine is what I like, and then again you see, life will have its spin. And you don't know what's going to come at you. So the worst case scenario is, if I have to sell this bike, is there a buyer, and what's the damage? And I mean, touch wood, it is difficult to find a second-hand Africa Twin because it sells off. Even a 2017 Africa Twin sells off with minimal depreciation.
Nice.
And sometimes it's always important to keep that dream in the simmer, right? You don't want to bake it then and there. Keep it in the summer.
Let it
go on. Let that be your motivation for something.
You romanticize with the dream and
Absolutely.
let it
Nice. It's always nice.
So when Amazon, we hear this a lot, like thriving in ambiguity. We learn a lot from this. We are chasing a big hairy goal, bhag goal, the big hairy audacious goal. And we don't know how to realize this. But we start taking our first few steps. And as we reach closer to the goal, the fog clears out and you see the target up clear.
Yeah. So one of the reasons, or one of the dreams that we both share, me and my wife, is we wanted to, tour the world on the bike. And there is this docu-series, if I can say it, which inspired me. It's called The Long Way Around.
Okay.
They have 3 parts to it. It's about 2 friends. One is Ewan McGregor, the one in Star Wars.
Okay.
Him and his friend going around the world, London, cutting across Europe, Russia, then landing in Alaska. So that's around a wrap around the world. Then they have another series which is Long Way Down, which is from London all the way to Cape Town. Then Long Way Up, which is from the southernmost point in Argentina, and all the way up to I think Alaska, or I don't know where they stopped though. So you see these 3 people. This is I think they shot it across 2 decades or 3 decades. I don't know what's the gap, but you see these 3 people evolving through that series, and it's a never-ending adventure for almost 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. We dream of doing something like that. We want to go around the world on this bike, and that's our dream. Next plan is, we've been talking about it the other day. We want to get a big world map and put a pin on the probable route, and that we may take. And maybe in another 3 or 4 years we'll make it a reality. I don't know. We haven't put a time to it, but we want to do it.
That's the ambiguous aspect of it. Like keep the flame alive, let it simmer. Alright, thanks Abhay for sharing all the lovely experiences, inspiring experiences, and I hope Not So Famous is able to bring these experiences to inspire many more like us who have been thinking about this, sitting on the sidelines and thinking how to make the switch over. So we'll leave your social media handles in our description box. People can follow you, people can get in touch with you, and we look forward to having you share more such experiences with us.
Sure, it was my pleasure, and thank you for this opportunity. And like I said, it's more power to you guys. It's a great initiative. I think more relatable stories need to be heard, and I think if people are able to follow their passion and if it brings a certain level of fulfillment in their life, that's amazing.
Perfect.
So
Thanks for your time, Abhay. Really
cheers.
appreciate it.
Same, man.
All
Cheers.
right. Signing off.